Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Richmond BigFooty Tigercast. I'm your host Michaels, and it is the Premier's Bonanza, I guess we'd call it, an all-star lineup to help celebrate our grand final victory in 2017. Yep, you heard correctly, we won the flag. So with that, we'll introduce the guys that have come on tonight. Our illustrious leader, Sturge, welcome to you.
How fucking good is this, mate?
It's very, very good. Who would have thought? I can't believe he's done that within the first 20 seconds he's done it. I'm tipping that one was especially designed for our next guest, who's back from his antics over in WA recording stuff. Wacko Jacko, welcome back.
Thank you very much. It's great to be back. What a better time? Well, what better time to step off a plane than into a grand final?
Yep, can't go wrong with that. And Rodney Dangerfield, you were our first guest, and you're now going to be on the last show for the year. So welcome back to you.
How are you, boys? I'm here to keep this shit classy.
Oh, I'm not too sure about that, but anyway, we've heard your Sweet FA podcast, and classy is not the word I would use to describe how that went down. And Grockadoc, who's having some internet issues still. He's on his phone this time. Welcome to Grok.
Thanks for having me, boys. How bloody good is this? And to all you Geelong nuffies who've been giving me shit for the past 10 years, get that one up yours.
And making a back-to-back appearance, despite going through some adversity with a massive hangover, Captain Blood 17, welcome back.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here, folks. I am dying, but I'm pulling through for you guys. I'm pulling through. Tiger tough.
When we post this up, we will get Captain Blood to post the image that he sent us in the PM of how he's preparing for this episode. A bit of gold there.
I've got too much time left, haven't I?
No, that was really good. A good tribute. Before we get into the review, I just want to give a quick roast to the clown who failed to play our entire theme song at the start of the game. Honestly, the biggest game of the year, the bloke had one job, and he stuffed it.
Oh, the bloke sitting behind me, absolutely. If the bloke who was meant to play the theme song had have come up to where we were sitting, I reckon the bloke behind us would have decked him. Absolutely gave him the biggest roast you've ever heard in your life.
Well, on the flip side of that, kudos to all the Tiger supporters who filled in and sung the song anyway, just to cheer the boys on without the backing music.
Yeah, true.
Stepped up to the plate.
Yeah, everyone took over. And another kudos to the Richmond people for waiting for the national anthem to finish, but then to proceed booing the shit out of the Adelaide people who just stood there and looked like dickheads. While Tex took his 2 steps forward, and that was about as much as he did all day.
The only beat is gained he had all day.
All right, we'll jump straight into the grand final review. So Richmond 16-12, 108 defeated Adelaide 8-12-60, winning by 48 points and becoming the premiers of 2017. Unbelievable stuff. The goal kickers, Jack Graham with 3, Townsend with 2, Dusty with 2, Rewalt with 2, Castagna, Butler, Grigg, Caddy, Hooley, Lambert, Prestia, all with 1 each. I suppose the big name on that list for me is Jack Graham. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of us thought Jack was going to step up and be a hero for us on grand final day if it ever happened, but I don't think anyone thought it was going to be Jack Graham. What a super performance. I'll start with you, Wacko. What were your thoughts of the game?
Yeah, good game, I reckon. Yeah, I mean, we won. Hey?
way to cut through the bullshit.
Hang on a minute. Yeah, what are my thoughts? I'm speechless. Well, Jack Graham was great. Everyone was great. Jeez. I haven't actually had to describe the game yet, and I'm struggling, as you can hear.
Yeah. Okay. Rodney Dangerfield, we'll move on to you. What were your thoughts on the game?
Oh, yeah, I thought it was good. I thought that was obviously great. But, you took yourself in the start when Jack Rewalt, I thought, set the tone pretty early, and I felt pretty confident about halfway through the first quarter, and it was just happy days. From there on in, you couldn't get a better last month of footy, could you, if you tried?
No, absolutely not. And speaking of Jack Rewalt, I'll ask you, Crocodile. After he missed his first 3 shots at goal, we started to feel a little bit nervous that it was going to be one of those days where our inaccuracy was going to bite us in the arse.
I don't think that when Jack missed those three, that it was going to be a big deal. I mean, you could tell when he started, clunking those grabs that he was doing, that you could just see the boys starting to lift a little bit. For me, the way that I sort of expected it to, like I wrote in the preview thread, it was all going to be about who could get their game up and running. And Adelaide in the first 10 minutes, it was their outside game, which I actually wrote about, that set the tone. We just couldn't stop their runners from the outside. Matty Crouch, Rory Sloane, and Brad Crouch in particular early, they really got on top of us. But when we managed to shut down their space, make it contested, that was when the Crows really shat their pants and just couldn't get back into the game. There are a few stats in regards to our pressure where the Crows had only had faced teams with 151 pressure rating. In the first quarter, ours was 169. The second quarter was 180. The third quarter was 220, which is the highest pressure rating ever recorded, and third quarter was down to 190. So we blasted them with our pressure, unlike anything they'd experienced this season. So hats off to the boys for everything that they did.
And Sturge, what were your thoughts? I mean, late in the first quarter, and they obviously jagged those 2 goals from stoppages inside the Fort 50. Any thoughts on how that panned out? Were you a bit concerned that they sort of hit the front with 2 easy goals, or how do you think it was going to all go?
I went one of the all-time great melts in a Facebook chat with my friends at that point. Rewalter destined to choke on the big stage after he missed the first 3 and wasted $350 on this rubbish when Sloane kicked his second, and it turned out to be the ultimate reverse Moz, because from that point on it was just all Richmond, and wasn't it glorious?
Tell you what, you would have fitted really well in one of our autopsy threads.
Yeah, look, someone has to do it, and after 32 years of putting up with rubbish, I guess it's hard to finally break the tag and realise that we're finally a good team.
Yeah, very true. And Captain Blood, what about the start of the third quarter? We're obviously ahead at half-time. Did you think the boys were going to come out and produce the same kind of third quarter we had done in the past 3 or 4 games?
Well, if you looked at the Crows, we all knew the second quarter was the quarter where they'd been breaking teams. I think over the course of the year, the overall percentage, I think they were about 180%. So they would basically doubling scores. That's what they were smashing them. And I think we discussed it previously, where we thought if we were within two goals of the Crows at half time, we would run over the top of them. And like that, they didn't turn up in the second quarter. So we were all sort of shitting ourselves a bit for that first 10 minutes of the third quarter. What were the Crows going to do? And they just didn't fire a shot. We killed them. The only way you can really describe that second half is we broke them like hillbilly banjos.
Yep,
that's pretty accurate. Rodney, there was reported today, I believe, I think it was Sean Grigg said that coming off at half-time, he could hear the Adelaide players were just bickering and arguing amongst themselves. Do you reckon that plays a big part into a team unravelling in a game?
Well, I actually thought they unravelled before the game. Just the way they carried on the day before. They had a big serious push. Our boys were really enjoying the whole experience. And I thought every team that we played fell for the same shit every week. They just didn't rate it. And it was interesting for me on Saturday because I took one of my mates who couldn't go. An Adelaide mate came with me. He's a real good bloke, otherwise there's no way he would have come. But it was interesting being there with him because it sort of tempted my days. I didn't want to be a smart ass and rub in his face and vice versa. And he was adamant at half-time that we were going to smash him. And I think he felt the same thing. He could see it. And he just said, you're killing us. And so that sort of calmed me down. I was pretty confident because I had an Adelaide Crows report telling me that they're done.
Okay, what about the last quarter? Adelaide, we got the first goal, and Adelaide got a quick 2 goals. Was there any kind of moment there where you thought, are they going to come back, or were you pretty comfortable that we had complete control of it?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, from my perspective, because I missed the whole final series. I was interstate. The first game I managed to listen to 1 quarter on AM radio and got 2 score updates during the match. The second game, I watched it all on a telly, but I felt very much like it it was the same script throughout the whole final series. I mean, the GWS game was the same. They sort of got on top and kicked a couple of goals, and they looked really good when they had the ball on the outside and they were getting those easy goals. But we were digging in, and the same thing happened. There was like a switch that got flicked where our pressure just got too much. And in the end, we ran over the top like we did to Geelong and like we did to GWS. And I was a bit nervous, like Sturge, when Rory Sloane kicked his second goal right at the start there. But after that, I felt surprisingly confident the whole game, which was very unusual for me.
I must admit, I felt the same way. I mean, I was a bit nervy after the first 2 goals that they got, especially when Floston slipped. I thought, it's going to be one of those days where just all that kind of shit happens. But once we sort of got on the board with the goal, they all seemed to settle a little bit. And I don't know, it was really weird that I didn't feel like it was ever out of our grasp before half-time. And then I thought, well, because we're with them, our third quarter's usually pretty good. And they come out firing. Sturge, a lot of people... Sturge, a lot of people, I suppose, were naturally going to try and compare our premiership to the Bulldogs of last year and the way that kind of just come out of nowhere. But I tend to disagree. I want to get your thoughts on it. That we didn't finish in the bottom part of the 8. We finished in the top 4. So we deserve to be there. And people can't say it's a fluke because we beat the top 4 teams in the finals by over an average margin of 30 points. Is that about right, or were we lucky, or did we thoroughly deserve it?
Well, I reckon when we look back, we'll say we deserved it. And, there's a lot of salty flogs, especially on BigFooty. It's just, and the main board is the home of salty Richmond haters. So you can't read a lot into what they say. We weren't kissed on the dick by the umpires all season. It kind of came back a little bit in the finals. I watched the replay, and the umpiring is nowhere near as bad as last year's. I didn't think anything was that bad at all. So we were, when we look back, I think we'll look back and see this was a genuinely good team who all worked together 100% and played for each other.
They definitely did, and I think we would all admit that we're not the most talented list in the competition by any stretch, but all those guys worked for each other every step of the way. So,
you look at that Adelaide flog who wrote that article where he said, "this is the worst premiership ever."
Oh, Rucci.
And then No, the Jai.
No, Jai Bednall from news.com.au.
He said, it used to take a midfield of Judd, Cousins, and Kerr to win a flag. So you got 2 Brownlow medalists, and Kerr, who was found to be overrated when the 2 Brownlow medalists left. So let's look, Martin, Koch, and Prestia. Oh, look, 2 Brownlow medalists, and Prestia's miles better than Kerr and younger. So, we've still got a fairly decent midfield. We've got a lot of good players, and it's our bottom 6 that's improved. We don't have just, you look at our bottom 6 and you don't go, they're terrible. You look at our bottom 6 now and they're all genuine, they play their part, and that's what you need to win a flag.
That flog Jai, though, if you actually had checked his Twitter account all week, he was bagging Richmond, hyping the Crows, tipped them by 6 goals. But all the Crows fans saying that the umpires ruined it, rah-rah, for them in the first half. They kicked, 5 goals in the first half? But if you have a look, 3 of them actually came from pure luck. I mean, Nick Floston's splitting over one. He keeps his feet, Betts doesn't kick that goal. Number 2 was the touched ball that Floston marked, forcing a stoppage that they kicked a goal directly from with Sloane to kick his second. And the third one was Basher Hooley dropping the ball going through his hands in the centre of the ground that led to Greenwood's goal. So they got 3 goals from, lucky 50-50 things that went their way. So, it could have been worse for them at halftime anyway.
But
the only one they missed... quickly. The only one they missed was the Eddie Betts being held. Okay, cool. He gets a free kick in the goal square. We're premiers by 7 goals instead of 8. Suck it up.
Exactly.
That was 30.
The other thing as well, people get hung up on stats, right? and this is what all the commentators have missed all year. A lot of them have. Our small forwards don't need to rack up 15, 20 touches and kick 2 goals. It's not how the game has been implemented, our game plan. So when you're going, Daniel Riles only had 8 kicks, there's more to the story. So if you look at it from a number, and people get too hung up on numbers. It's not purely and wholly and solely about kicks and handballs. And they've missed it all year.
Last week, I think Butler, Castagna and Rioli combined for, I think it was 20 possessions. But they had 49 pressure acts between the 3 of them. That speaks volumes more than them getting possessions. It's not the be-all and end-all for what they're designed to do in the game plan.
Well, modern football is designed around rolling extra numbers to the ball, sheepdogs, getting that ball on the outside and running and gunning it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But you can't sheepdog against us, mate, because they're on them, the players are on them.
Captain Blood, I believe you wanted to have a quick word to Grant Thomas?
Oh, yeah, Grant. No tickets for you, Grant. It sort of ties in. It ties in what we've been talking about, boys. So at the moment, the big thing is, it's the worst premiership team in history, Well, let's go back a step. So you're telling me for that statement to be correct through the year, Buddy, Danger, Kennedy, Wingard, Stevens, Fantasia, Dan Hurst, but all those blokes took a year off, did they? So you're telling me this is the weakest premiership season ever. So what? All those blokes who've been playing the last 10 years, they didn't play this year. It's a crock of shit, right? That's the first point. Grant Thomas, Grant Thomas, right? He had a list that had a 4-year window of opportunity. He had the best list for 4 years, right? He had Hayes, Nick Rewald, Ball, Del Santo, Milne, etc., right? And they failed. You know why they failed? Because you're a shit truck, Grant Thomas. You can't coach. You got him to 2 prelims and that was it. So hear it from me. You're nothing but a fat, bitter, twisted, sad sack of shit who achieved nothing. There you go.
Fair play. And I think our mate Ricky Nixon coming on Thursday might have something similar to say to Grant Thomas as well. So hopefully he'll jump in your corner. But yeah, I think. Yeah, I had a crack I had a crack at Grant on Twitter as well, and so did Sturge from our own account. So you're not going to put up with that bullshit.
All you need to say about Grant Thomas.
On BigFooty.
All you need to say about him is the bloke's got 21,700 tweets, 3 likes. That's all you need to say about Grant Thomas.
That's a good stat.
Hey, Grant,
that's
come over here and cry into our shiny new Premiership Cup so we can see how salty your tears are.
That's 3 more. That's 3 more likes though than what Wang will ever get with his posting, isn't it?
We'll push on. We'll go through a few of the plays and just get some thoughts on these guys because, all 22 had an outstanding game, but there were some standouts. So, Rodney, I'll start with you. Dylan Grimes, what did you make of his game?
Well, it's a little bit biased. He's my favourite player, but it's just one player that you don't even have to. I just don't even think you worry about every week now, and it's a great feeling going to a game of footy knowing that one of the best small forwards I've ever seen, and he really is. He's a fantastic player, but it's a great feeling, Dylan's playing on him, and Toby Green the week before, another champion, and you can't be underestimated how massive Dylan Grimes, not only this season, but his final series was. He's just an absolute superstar, and what more can you say, really?
Yeah, he did an unbelievable job.
Exactly. You have a look at Eddie Betts' record against us in his time at Carlton. He used to tear us an absolute new one week in, week out, every week he played against us. But since Grimes has been in, I think Betts is only averaging 1 goal against us over the past, 5-6 games. For someone who was averaging 4 goals against us in his last 5 against Richmond when he was at Carlton, it just shows you the quality that Grimes brings to the side.
They have been. They've been sensational. And Wacko, you've got the ginger beard, so I'll give you this guy. Nick Loston, how did you rate his game? How good has he been for us in the finals?
Well, he was very, very good after his first 2 or 3 moments near the football. I was, a little worried with those slips and fumbles. But after that, he was very, very solid, as he has been all year. He's, a rock.
I think
Great mark.
the highlight for me for his game was when he took that contested mark in the middle of the ground, just standing his ground in front of Walker that was just charging through, and he just took it. And, Walker would take those marks 9 out of 10 times, but Vlastuin just wasn't going to give an inch, and I thought that was a big moment for us.
Very good,
And
very solid.
Credit to Kane Corns for ripping Tex Walker a new one on that actual marking contest, saying he was soft as butter and should have gone harder at the ball. Never thought I'd credit Kane Corns for anything.
I don't think we should put that in the podcast. I don't feel comfortable having anything positive about Kane Corns in this podcast.
Sorry, dude, I just blanked out when you were paying him a compliment. I blanked out. I missed all that. Sorry, what?
Sturge, Alex Rance. He rose to the occasion in a massive way. Was desperate as ever. What did you make of his game?
Oh, definitely. And a lot of people, even on SEN this afternoon, were saying that they had Rance's best on ground at halftime. But Dom Pike must have been reading BigFooty, because the Brains Trust over on the Adelaide board, their big idea was, let's send Andy Otten to Alex Rance, the best fullback in the game, and make him accountable. It's like, let's send almost our worst player to play on the best fullback and see what he can do. He did nothing. Alex Rance did whatever he wanted. I used to work with Andy Otten's brother, and their whole family are flogs, and they're no good at footy, and Alex Rance killed him and did whatever he wanted in that back line all day. The only reason he didn't win a Norm Smith was because the ball was never in our back line in the second half. If Adelaide actually tried, we'd be saying Alex Rance, Norm Smith medalist.
Alex pretty much alluded to that fact up on the stage when he was getting presented at Punt Roads. Grok, Shane Edwards. I thought watching the replay, I thought he was outstanding. The creativity with his handballs was great.
Oh, exactly. He's one of these players who epitomises the Richmond Football Club over the last decade. He's frustrating as hell, but his glimpses of brilliance are just mind-blowing. His hand passing in traffic is the best in the AFL without question. He just always manages to get a handball out, and 9 times out of 10, he'll pin pass it to a teammate in 3 or 4 deep in a pack. It's just mind-blowing. He's just a brilliant footballer when he's in full flight.
He just has the ability to hold on to the ball for that extra half a second for something to open up, and then he just nails it and we're away.
Space, and then, he's just amazing.
And Captain Blood, Jack Graham, 5th game of AFL footy in a grand final, kicks 3 goals. What more could you ask for?
I tell you what, when you watch him, if you didn't actually know that stat, you wouldn't be thinking it when you watch this kid, would you? He plays like he's played 100 games.
He does, and I had written down that you would honestly be able to forgive him if he got stage fright and curled up into a ball being on a grand final in your 5th game. But to do what he did was just amazing.
Well, he kicked the clutch goal that got us going, didn't he? He was actually
the second quarter. He put us up. Yeah, he put us up, and we never relinquished the lead after that goal.
Yep, and keep in mind, so we talk about his first half, he kicks the clutch goal. In the second half, mate, who did he tear a new arsehole? Rory Sloane. And Sloane's first half was outstanding. That first quarter, he was killing us, Sloane. So not only did he ignite us, he then took out their prime ball mover, which was just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant by the kid. And, sign him up. Don't let Ralph Carr get his hands on him, mate. Otherwise, we'll have a hell of a contract negotiation in about 3 years with him.
Can the Tigercast actually take credit for Jackie Graham after the podcast just before the Freo game?
I think we founded him. Absolutely, we can take credit for that. If there's a player sponsorship open next year, it should just be the Tigercast who sponsors Jack Graham. And Townsend. We'll claim them both.
Yes, please.
Can I also say, just looking at the sports bet odds for the Rising Star next season, Jack Graham's still paying $11.
Get on, everyone. Get on.
I'm going to get on this.
We've said this the last 3 weeks, and this is it. The grand final just further proved our point. The home and away season is going to be a walk in the park for him.
I mean, I thought he'd be in with a real shot at winning the Norm Smith. Obviously, Dusty, Rance, and Basher in particular were amazing. But for a kid in his 5th game to hold down one of the best inside midfielders in the AFL in Rory Sloane, and to make him beat him the other way, kicking 2 goals while keeping Sloane to 6 possessions in a half of football. That's just brilliant from a just turned 19-year-old. Like, he's going to be an absolute gun, and he's going to be the next Mark Coughlin. Like, I've said it before, but he's just Cogs reincarnated.
Minus the injuries, hopefully.
Just got on him. Just got on 11's boys. Thanks for the
Well
heads
done.
up.
Yeah,
Wacko, Jacob Townsend, our man, we claimed him pretty early on. So did Grok. The three of us jumped on board and said that we need him in the side. What the hell's going on there? Oh, we had to just tip the chair. His form in the VFL was exceptional, and we had to get him into the side because he was going to add something. How'd you find his game?
Well, I said to my mate before the game that he was a bit worried. Obviously, our last result in Adelaide wasn't too good, and I said that one of the main differences this time is that having him in the team means that Lever's not going to be able to do what Lever likes to do, and the only thing he can do, which is play loose in defence.
He made him accountable.
It was pretty evident that Jake Lever didn't have a very fun time down there with Jacob, and they had a little meet up down on the boundary line there, and I posted a great photo that really summed up that relationship. But no, I think he was a very important part of our victory.
It was good. Every time the ball went back to the middle and they would pan down to the forward line, you would just see him, like Townsend, just nudging and pushing and just getting stuck into him the whole time. So he played his role really, really well. Rodney, back to you, Rodney. Our small forwards, Butler, Castagna and Rioli. I've grouped them all together because they're kind of, they come as a package. What did you make of their games?
Oh, they were just the same as they are pretty much every week, really. They we said before, they don't have to rack up big numbers, and they don't. They never will the way they play. Like Castagna, he cops more shit than anyone on the board, and he's a limited player. But he's just a competitive beast, the way he tackles, and it just gets back to Townsend before. I've watched the replay a couple of times, and Castagna's a bit like that. You watch how hard Townsend was running into blokes, not even just when he was tackling them. They were shitting themselves. And Castagna's exactly the same. And when you got Butler and Rioli chasing you all around the field, I mean, we all know that was the key ingredient to our success this year with those little fellas, and they brought it to the big dance when we needed them to. And the rest is history, isn't it, really?
Do we all agree that Butler has taken the piss with that banana?
Yeah. I think with Castagna, though, the reason he gets a bad rap is because he finds so much of the ball inside forward 50, with shots on goal and marks and stuff. But it's his kicking that lets him down. If he fixes his kicking accuracy 30%, he'd be a 40 goal a year small forward. He's got everything. He's got the speed. He can take a mark. It's just his finishing that really lets him down.
Just on Castagna, boys. What's the go with his contract? But we're only offering 1 year at this stage. He's actually uncontracted.
Yeah, and so is
I know Carlton have actually made an approach to Castagna. I know that, but the thing is, Castagna's probably worth more to us than what Carlton would be willing to pay for him anyway. So
it's a strange one. So hopefully he signs it sooner rather than later.
And Sturge, Bashir Hawley, I thought he was absolutely huge in the first half of the game. And I know we'll get to the Norm Smith bit after, but what did you make of his game?
Oh, best on ground for mine, easily. Was easily the best when it was there to be won, when it was tough in the first half. Just, I reckon if he had have snagged at least one more of the 2 behinds he kicked, then he might have swayed a few more votes and pipped Dusty. But just, what can you say? Like, much maligned, especially through the middle of the year, through everything he's been through this year. But just delivered when it mattered. And just, that's all I can say. Had an absolute blinder, and especially when it mattered in the first half.
Yeah, it was even just how a lot of people knock his courage and say that he's a soft player, but he had his head over the ball every single contest. He was burrowing in just as hard as what everyone else was, and like you said, when it was hot and there to be won, he pulled through for us. And we'll finish off with Captain Blood. Dusty Martin won the Norm Smith medal. Had a good game. He just does what Dusty does, doesn't he?
Yeah, look, it was when you talk about the Norm Smith right between Backer and Dusty Martin. It's really like you've got Elle McPherson naked on your bed, and you've got I don't know Cameron Diaz, whoever, Selma Hayek. You're two hot naked chicks on your bed. Either way, both outstanding choices. Dusty Martin was just brilliant, and it's sort of hard, like watching at the ground. You know, you sort of see his impact. But then when I got home and watched his game again up close on the Channel 7 replay, he really stood out. He did. Backer was unreal, but Dusty was outstanding. Some of his breakaways, like he was taking two of them to tackle him. So if you notice, he got caught a few times, but it was two blokes grabbing him, which meant we had an extra bloke on the outside. Another selfless game. Some of his passing, like I know Lambo screwed that shot up. But, you know, Dusty belting down the wing, hits him lace out with it on his opposite foot. He's an outstanding footballer, and he's a credit to himself and a credit to the club. And I'm just so happy that we've now made him a premiership player. And Lol North. Hashtag Lol North.
His kick to Basher Hooley to set up Basher's goal, that was clever. He didn't kick it to Basher. He kicked it out to the space in front for Basher to run onto, because if he had kicked it straight to Basher, Basher would have been having a shot from 48 on an angle, whereas he put him 6-7 metres closer in on a more open angle than what he would if he had had the set shot. So it's just it's his skills, but it's also his football smarts to know what the right decision is. And he just executes it brilliantly as well.
That kick he's got on him, like where he can just lace it, 50, 60 metres, like just grass cutters. Just I can't remember a footballer at Richmond being able to do that. I think back through the years, and I can't think of anyone who's got that skill set like he has with that leg. It's unreal.
Yeah. Before we move on from the players, I can't believe this bloke has not been mentioned yet, and I think he should get a massive rap for his game, but Big Nank the Tank. I mean, his game on Sam Jacobs, conceding, the centre hit-outs, but around the ground, he slaughtered Sam Jacobs. Like, his game was just amazing. He was doing it all, I think he had 17 possessions. He had so many intercept marks, especially that one on the goal line in the last quarter when the game was pretty much won. But he tore Sauce a whole new arsehole on Saturday.
Yeah, good call. I think we actually did mention him on last week's podcast that for us to be a chance, we needed Big Nate to at least break even at a minimum. But I think he did more than break even, especially when it comes to around the ground.
Yep.
We'll push on to a few other topics and questions. Firstly, I just want to know, I know there's a few of us that are slightly younger here, but were any of you around for the 1990-80 flag? And if you were, what were you doing on that day?
Mate, I can tell you I was there. I was on a farm in South Gippsland, mate. It was freezing cold, fire roaring, and I remember watching it with my brothers. And that was sort of like, as a 6-year-old, you're just starting to get into it. And, that was my real first memory of Richmond, believe it or not.
Oh, very nice. And anyone else around for the 1980 flag?
I was at the game.
Okay, and how was the feeling compared to the two?
I was on 9. The thing I remember the game, but I remember the two previous finals a little bit more than the grand final for some reason. And I remember Peter Allen getting booed when he sang the song because I think he'd just come out as gay or something, so the whole crowd booed him. So that's what 1980 was like. But,
they didn't vote yes?
No, I just remember it was back in those days. I remember you talking at the start of the show about how lucky these young kids are. But that's how I felt then. And I thought it was going to go forever because up until the age of 9, Richmond were just unreal. And in 1980, you sort of went to the grand final just expecting to win and smash Collingwood. And yeah, it's funny to look back. And I almost sat, me and my mate, I was 9, he was 10, and we went together on the weekend, 46 and 47, and pretty much almost sat nearly in the exact same spot.
Oh, how good is that? I think is it just you two then, mate? I think the rest of us are too young.
Much too young.
Yeah. We weren't even thought of as children back then.
think I'm the youngest one here, so it certainly wasn't me.
I was 14 years off being conceived then.
God, you both make me feel old now.
You're all whippersnappers.
Yeah, that's it. All right, moving to the next one. I want to just revisit a thread that was made by Juss, Juss, called the Ballsy Call of the Year thread, which was made back in March 2017. Basically, for those who don't know, the thread was made where you would just go on there and make a really far-out call of what to expect for Richmond for season 2017. I went through it today and put together a top 5 of what I thought were the most accurate and best guesses from that far away. So I just want to start off with an honourable mention to Ancient Tiger. His prediction was that Mopesy will admit he was wrong. Biggest call in footy. Honourable because it's nice to dream and think those things will happen, but it just simply won't. Number 5, Reaper X. He posted that Dan Butler will play round 1, go on to play 16 plus games for the year, and establish himself as a regular best 22. I think a lot of us might have thought that was never a chance of happening, but Reaper got that one pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Number 4, Captain Koch9 posted that Rioli will be best on ground for us in the winning final. I don't know if he was officially awarded best on ground in the GWS game, but by God, he would have been close if he didn't get it, kicking 4 goals.
Yeah, Dusty got the most votes in that game. Got 9 coaches' votes. Rioli got 8. So, yeah. He was close. I actually had him higher than I had Dusty.
Yeah, I think for sheer impact and just the way he went about it, I could not put that in there because that was a great call. Number 3 was posted by Foley41. GWS will lose the prelim. Too much heat melts plastic. Now, it didn't stipulate that it was going to be against us, but it was right nonetheless, and a lot of us made that joke about the plastic smelted, so we thought we'll put that one in number 3. Natural Disaster went with Groupie will swallow his pride and admit that Asprey isn't that bad. I'm not sure if Groupie's admitted it yet, but you can't deny that Asprey's had a ripper year.
He's gone from Asprey to Asprey in Groupie. He's no longer calling him Asprey. He's actually calling him by his real name. So
is that his way of apologising?
Yeah, I think we can safely assume that that's Groupie's way of apologising and admitting he was wrong.
Well done, Groupie. And the number 1 had to be Dr. Mike, who posted, "We will finish 3rd. It's what I keep joking to people when they ask, so I might as well put it down somewhere." I mean, what a call to go out and say the team's going to finish 3rd that early on. That is a ballsy call, and Dr. Mike nailed it. So I gave him the number one spot.
Yeah. I said shit call. We finished 1st.
Well, we did, but technicality. All right, we'll move on to some topics to discuss. So we'll just get everyone's thoughts on this. We'll just go through one by one. So, Sturge, we'll start with you. What does winning the 2017 Premiership mean to you?
Geez, I never even thought I would see this day. I always thought I'd be the old bloke in a wheelchair they wheel out in many, many years and say, oh, this is Sturge. He'd been a Richmond supporter for 70-odd years and has never seen a flag. So firstly, I'll always be grateful to the random stranger on Twitter who gave me his Priority 1 barcode and upgraded me from a Priority 2 to a guaranteed ticket and got me in to see my dream of seeing Richmond win a flag. And I've joked to my friends now, I've seen everything I want to see in sports, so I can give up on watching sport. That's what it means to me.
And at what point during the year did you think that we could be a genuine contender for the flag?
Probably when we won that first final, and to do it in the manner we did, I guess up to that point it was always, you just kind of waited for us to, as people say, do a Richmond. But, I said to my mate after the grand final, I said, that's old Richmond now. New Richmond doesn't lose games like that. And I think that first final was the turning point for me.
Wacko, what does winning the Premiership mean to you?
I still can't tell you. It means, I think the most important thing for me is it means when I tell everyone at the start of the year that we're going to win the flag, they might actually listen to me now. It's given me a bit of credibility. I'm not just a maniac. And at a point during the game, did you believe that we were going to win it? And what were you feeling at that time when you realised? Yeah, sometime during the third quarter, and it was a bit of a kind of pusher to the back of the head because, you know, after having seen what I've seen, even during my lifetime as a Richmond supporter, you never know what could flip around, and it can happen very quickly. But as it went on, it was pretty comfortable by the end of the third quarter.
And Ronnie Dangerfield, what does winning the flag mean to you?
Yeah, it's funny to say because I was just talking to a mate that I usually go with, didn't come, and we sort of said, what do we do now? You know, like now that we've won one, and we sort of come to the conclusion that we're looking forward to next year, just going to the footy and just relaxing and enjoying it like a massive weight's been lifted off your shoulders. And if you win, it'll be fantastic. I just don't think we'll feel as anxious about games anymore, and I'm actually looking forward to going to the game with a smile on my face and hoping that we play well, but knowing that we finally done something that I honestly didn't think would happen again in my lifetime, let's be honest, because I look a long, long way from it. So, yeah, that's what it means to me. I reckon. Just enjoying it.
And who would you have picked for the Norm Smith if it was up to you?
On the day, I thought Basher would win it. But like I said before, you get home and you watch it. Probably Dusty, but yeah. No, I thought Basher.
Fair enough. And Crocodile, what does winning the 2017 Premiership mean to you?
It means finally being accepted amongst my Geelong supporting Rallos first and foremost. They were conspicuously quiet after the game, they'd been giving me shit all final series. Oh, it's just going to lead up to disappointment. It's just going to be heartbreak. You know, Geelong, have you ever seen your side win a premiership? You know, all those typical jokes that opposition flogs, you know, give you. It means, you know, so much to me, especially with how close I was to my grandfather, who got me onto the Tigers anyway. You know, I'm sure he's going to be looking down, massive smile on his face. So yeah, it's just unbelievable. Like Sturge, I never thought I'd see this day, to be honest. And now that it's here, I'm kind of stuck. I don't know what to feel. I think Richo's emotions in that last quarter where he broke down, him and Benny Gale, I think that just summarised every Richmond supporter in Australia at that point in time. It was just sheer relief and jubilation, and I was very much the same.
And at what point during the year did you believe that we could be a genuine contender?
This might sound strange, but it was probably during that string of losses after we lost to Adelaide and then the Dogs and then Freo, then GWS. Especially at Adelaide. Adelaide had been the form side of that of the year up until that point, and our first quarter against them was amazing. We got absolutely blasted off the park after quarter time, but that first quarter showed that our best football can actually match it with the best. But I think it was probably that GWS game. You know, they were the people's pick for the premiership, and we matched them, and it came down to absolute heartbreak and Nank fumbling that ball. But I think at that point I realised that we were a very, very good football team, and that we were in with a shot at winning the flag. But I think the biggest belief I had that we'd win the flag was probably at halftime on Saturday, with that scrap with Jake Lever and Jacob Townsend. You saw all the Tigers boys mob Jacob Townsend after that scrap, but Lever just ran off, had no teammate support, nothing. And at that moment, I was like, yep, they're disjointed. They're just playing for themselves now. And I think at that moment, that was probably when I realised we'd win the flag.
And Captain Blood, what does winning the flag mean to you?
The only way I can describe it, it's like having an itch for 37 years and it finally got scratched. Just relief. Just honestly relief. Because like all you blokes, as you get a bit older, you think, shit, am I ever going to see this again in my lifetime? And honestly just felt relief. Relief, and thank you, Richmond Football Club. Because, yeah, like Danger, like Rod, now I'm just going to go to games and enjoy it now. You know, it's really going to enhance my experience with Richmond moving forward. It's wonderful.
And at what point during the game did you believe we were going to win, and what was that feeling like when you realised?
Well, I actually got to sit with Morrow in the second half and his lovely wife. And I can tell you, I was pretty tense all the way to the end. I was riding that sucker home all the way to the final siren because you just, you're that keen for it to happen. And I just didn't want to get ahead of myself, and I wasn't getting cocky. And look, probably a 20-minute mark once. I think it was a Butler's goal, and he smashed it through. I think that was when it was like, okay, we got this. But yeah, it was just right to the end for me, unfortunately. I didn't quite relax.
That's right. At least you got to enjoy it once the siren went. That's the main thing.
Yep.
And all day Sunday.
Brutal.
Well, we'll go through a few other questions now, probably a bit more broader than the game itself. I'll start with you, Wacko. Damien Hardwick's year, your thoughts on it, and how did you rate it?
Well, I think he shut the haters up. That's for sure. Well, I mean, it's hard to know what goes on in the four walls, but from the outside looking in, he didn't put a foot wrong, really, did he? I mean, a couple of decisions on match day, which we questioned earlier in the year, which may or may not have led to some losses, but he made all the important calls, evidently, because he's got the cup in his hands now.
Yeah, and it just adds a lot of credibility to the board as well, especially for sticking with him. I mean, there was a lot of people wanting him sacked, whether it was BigFooty or the media, everyone. So for the club to sort of see through all the external pressure, back their man in, and whatever he did in the off-season obviously worked, and full credit to him.
I'm very, very proud of him. If I was in his shoes and I got up on that podium, the first thing I would have said was, "Eat a dick, you campaigners." And I'm very proud of him for not saying that. It was very respectful and classy of him.
How long until we see statues of Dimmer and Dusty outside Punt Road?
Hopefully not too soon, because the crap will cop from the football world for that.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm not alive to see it.
I was planning a whip around past the heart at the Carlton game next year, and we'll get it started.
I wouldn't do it
in bronze.
I wouldn't do a pass around at North, mate. You won't get much.
You wouldn't get anything.
Yeah, just ask Heisenberg.
Sturge, the new additions to our club, Neil Baum, Justin Lepich and Blake Carosella, how important do you reckon they were to us?
I think it's hard to say from outside how much they changed what was going on at the club, but, something definitely happened this year, whether it was just Dimmer off his own bat or part them or everyone involved. But I think it was a whole team effort. The new, just the whole character and the whole attitude at the club's changed. And like I was saying in my answer before, old Richmond's dead. This is new Richmond. This is a completely different beast. And especially some of the old blokes are saying this is what it used to be like back in the day when we were hated and feared rather than just mocked and pitied like we have been lately. So it's absolutely brilliant.
And Grok, your thoughts on the list. What changes do you think will be made, and what do we need to add for 2018 to make sure we can maintain this kind of success?
I think the biggest weakness still is depth, particularly in our key position areas, ruck, key defenders and key forwards. Key forwards probably not so much now that Callum Moore's been tearing it up at VFL level, but I think particularly our ruckman, we'll be screwed if Nant goes down. I mean, we rode him pretty hard throughout the year, and we don't want to do to him what we did to Big Ivan Marriage when he first crossed over. I mean, we know Nank's going to do the team thing. He's going to get up if he has to, but there comes a point where he's going to have to, have a break and have a rest. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is probably just continuing to get the depth, invest in the draft, because our recruiting over the past, 4 or 5 years has been outstanding. So, I'd back our list management into, keep this list sustained. But just on the three additions that we mentioned just before, as Sturge answered, I'd say that Lepic has probably been the biggest influence on this premiership. I mean, you have a look when he first was with us before he went to Brisbane. He was the architect of the backline we have now. Like his job with Rance and Asprey and Grimes was amazing, and those three are the cornerstones of our backline. And then all of a sudden, he comes in and he works with our forward line, and that's heralded as well. So he's been the key component of our two most heralded, areas on the field. So I'd probably say that Lepic has been the main architect of setting this premiership up of anyone outside Dimmer.
And before we get to the next question, I've just got a bit of a Jack Dyer medal update. So Captain Blood will get your thoughts on this. This is the leaderboard after round 8. Sean Grigg, first, 28 points. Dustin Martin, second on 26. Trent Cotchin, third on 25. Alex Rance, fourth on 24. And Jack Rewalt, fifth on 22. Grigger at the top. That's a bit of a surprise, isn't it? Well, I mean, he's had a good year, but...
He always polls. He actually always polls well, doesn't he? But our BNFs, he's had some pretty good finishes. My actual Smokey's Koch, believe it or not. He's the one I think that could take it from Dusty. And actually not Rancy too. They're probably the three. But Grigger, yeah, look, bit of a surprise, but not a surprise if you know what I mean. I'd expect him to be top 5 because personally I've rated his year. He's done a lot of hard things, hadn't he? And he's our second ruckman. So yeah, why are we starting with 2 ruckmen in the centre bounce? But yeah, he's had an outstanding year. But I just reckon Koch for a Smoky. If you're a punter, Koch for the Smoky. That's my take on it.
And so some other outsiders that have polled some votes down the bottom end of the scale. Ben Lennon's got 1, Soldo's got 1, Menager's got 1, Morris has got 2, Griffith's got 2, Markov 2, Big Todd Elton with 4.
Oh.
I mean, Elton did compete. Like he an out-and-out gun, but what he did was he crushed the packs. He was the type of player that we wanted Griffiths to be, you know. He competed, he chased. His defensive pressure for a big man was solid. It was just everything else that was not quite up to standard. But I think the biggest surprise for me in that top 5 is the lack of David Asprey. Earlier on in the season, for the first 6 or 7 games, I thought Rance wasn't outstanding. I thought it was Dave Asprey that was arguably our best defender over that, first quarter of the season. So I think that his lack of votes for the top 5 at that point is pretty surprising.
He's actually not even close to the top 5, to be honest. He's only on he's only on 13 votes. So 6th place is actually Dan Butler on 22.
How's Lambert?
Lambert is, so after Jack Rewalt, there's Butler on 22, Basher Hooley on 20, Kane Lambert on 19, Dylan Grimes 19, Rioli 19, Castagna 18, Nankervis 17, McIntosh 14, Prestia 13, Asprey 13, Conker 13, Brandon Ellis 12, Edwards 8, Vlosten 8, Caddy 8, Short 8, and then Todd Elton and the rest, as I mentioned before.
And boys, I've got some news for you. Breaking news. Dustin Martin's just won the Gary Ayres medal for best player throughout the final series.
What a shot.
That was always going to be given after the Norm Smith. He was 1 vote up at the end of last week. That Norm Smith just guaranteed it. That's an amazing season. I think the only vote he didn't win this season was the age player of the year. They gave it to Danger. So that's just as Lee Matthews said, that is the best individual accolade season that anyone's ever had in the AFL or VFL. So it just speaks volumes to the bloke that he is and the player that he is. He's just insane. And thank you, Melbourne recruiters.
Yes, and Jordan McMahon. Don't forget Geordie.
Yeah. Although we have already said that if we had picked one, we would have taken Dusty anyway.
Absolutely.
So no credit to McMahon on that one.
Just on the Gary Ayres medal, best on ground in the grand final according to both coaches with the full 10 votes, Basher Hooley. Second was Dustin Martin with 8 votes, Alex Rance third with 6, Shane Edwards fourth with 4 votes, and then the two coaches obviously differed on fifth best. Graham and Rewalt both got one each. So obviously the coaches saw whatever we saw in the stands. But like you guys said before, watching the replay, Dusty was very, very good in the replay.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, we'll get back to the rest of the questions. Rodney Dangerfield, if you could pick one player from any other team to slot into our round one lineup for 2018, who would it be?
I'm trying to look outside the obvious. What do we need the most? Probably another ruckman. I've got no idea who. What about Peter Wright?
Pick 2 metre Peter.
Yeah.
The player that I'd probably pick would either be Tom Lynch to slot up forward or Max Gorn, because Max Gorn, when he goes forward, is a real dangerous presence and kick goals. So they'd be the first two that I'd pick if we were going to get anyone into the side.
Was Tom Lynch your obvious one, Rodney?
No, I was just thinking, obviously, that you like a Dangerfield or something, just to pull out the obvious.
Oh, no, we've got Martin. We don't need Dangerfield.
We have them both.
I'll make the call, boys. We'll have a crack at the second ruckman from Gold Coast. What's his name? Longer?
Tommy Nichols.
Tom Nichols is the man. That's my Captain Blood special. Get on board that
well,
one.
Well, from what I've been hearing from a few friends who have connections at the club, we've apparently approached Tom Lynch's management, and Dion Presti's been in his ear. So, I think what would you guys think if we traded our first 2 rounders this year and our first next year for Tom Lynch?
Or 3.
Would that be something? I mean, look, but you have a look. Our first rounders this year are 15 and 17. That's not really massive, and we're going to get Patrick Naish, who's probably going to be a late first rounder anyway for cheapest. So
I look at the Trelaw lesson, and I'd stick with. I wouldn't give 2 up for him. No, because we want a flag with 1 ruckman. We can get better value elsewhere, I reckon, rather than selling ourselves for 1 bloke when we've just won a flag.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one.
Can we draft them well?
Yeah, it's a weak draft as well.
If we can retain some of the players we've got, because we have a lot of guys in the VFL who will slot into positions in the next couple of years if they're still at the club, through the middle of the ground and on the wings and those sort of players. But we do need tools. So it really comes down to just weighing up, because we need to have players that can come in depth. We need to have guys who are going to come through in the future. So 3 first rounders is a lot.
2019 will be an interesting year for the club because Rancy comes out of contract, right? So there's a guy that might be finishing up at 29 years of age. In 2 years, Jack will be 31. Yep. So we've actually, that's why I reckon we probably need to bank the picks and keep drafting, because I reckon those guys, we're going to see about 3 or 4 of those blokes go back a Woolly. With 3 or 4 of those blokes going over the next 3 or 4 years, I reckon, now that they've hit the pinnacle, there'll be a few go.
Don't actually be surprised. I won't be surprised if Koch does pull the pin, because I remember he said early on that if he won a flag, they'd just about do him, or something to that effect.
Yeah, I think this will probably be his last contract if he still holds those feelings. He'll wait until Nick Floston's ready to take over as captain, and then when his contract finishes, I think he'll probably pull the pin. I think Floston will probably be the logical choice for captain, because it's only going to be another 2 years when Koch's contract expires. So I reckon he'll probably go to Boston for a couple of years and then Jack Graham after that.
All right,
I actually had this discussion earlier today with some friends. 2019, out of contract, we've got Vlosten, Brandon Ellis, Rewalt, Asprey, Nank, Rioli, Rance. Those are some massive names to tie up in 1 year.
Yep.
Yeah.
They'll have to try and maybe stagger them and do some maybe next year early on to try and get ahead of the game, because that's some big coin that's going to be going their way.
Yeah. Although if we are up and about thereabouts, over the next few years, I could see them doing what Hawthorn did. Everyone takes pay cuts to keep the team together to win another couple of flags. So I don't think, if we continue on from this year, I don't think it's going to be as much of an issue than, say, if we had the season we had last year this year. So.
And we'll finish off just talking about what memorabilia everyone's purchased so far and how much you're going to be adding to your collection, because we've all been on the websites. I spent $300 today alone. So, Sturge, what have you bought so far, and what are you going to add?
So far, I've bought a $10 T-shirt off a bloke out the back of Richmond Station that was selling them on the road on the way home. Jesus Christ. But no, I really like there's the Premier's scarf that they did with all the games on the back and 2017 Premiers. So I'll probably get one of them. I really like the framed jumper. I used to work with a bloke who's a Hawthorn supporter who had the 2008 framed jumper, and it's just those signed jumpers with all the cards and everything are just unbelievable to look at in person. And $2,000 is a lot, but it's probably worth it. The other one I like is the panorama with when the final siren's gone, which while we've been on
that.
My wife's offered to buy me, so we might have to try and up the budget to $2,000. So those are the ones I like. I'll probably get the scarf. I'll get a polo. Got to buy a polo for the bloke that gave me his barcode. I'll get it shipped out to him. And that's it for me.
Yeah, Wacko, I know you were a fan of that panorama one, weren't you? Was there anything else?
Yeah, I ordered that. I bought one of the caps, the new era caps. We got the little premiership pin and got a Mark Knight poster stubby holder and bought a Mark Knight poster. And I mean, the rest of it's all pretty much out of my price range, except I am looking at that football. The Sharon.
Oh yes, I can help you with that.
I've got a bit of an idea in my head on what to do with it. Get a nice case for it, and I've got a couple of bits and pieces, like the ticket, and I managed to pitch some of the grass from the hallowed turf of the MCG on open day yesterday. So got quite a display brewing up.
And Rodney, what about you? What have you purchased so far, and have you got any plans for anything else?
No, nothing. I haven't bought anything. I haven't even looked at anything. I haven't really had time, and I don't know. It's all up in my mind, really. My memories. I'm not really a big memorabilia type person. I might buy. I don't know, have a look at something one day, but it's not really something I worry about too much.
Sturge will sell you his $10 shirt for $15 if you want it.
Got some good stuff at home from the past, like the team of the century and that, but I don't know. I didn't even buy a footy record. Well, it used to be. I've got footy records for 40 years, but this year I stopped buying them. So I refused to buy one Saturday because I'm that bloody superstitious about that sort of crap. So that's it.
Grok, what about you? Have you bought anything yet?
The only thing I've bought so far is a Mark Knight poster. I've got the Herald Sun limited edition gold one printed on the gold foil. I'm eyeing off that jumper. That'll probably be a collective Christmas birthday present. I'll just ask people to chip in and get me, or at least give me cash for it. I'll probably end up getting one of those Sharons with the gold trimmings on it, and I'll probably take that down to the family day or something, and get all the players involved to sign that as well. I'll probably just end up picking up the grand final DVD and the victory pack and everything. But that'll probably be about it, I reckon.
With the gold footies, there might not be much room to sign it because there's actually something on all four panels. But they're a great ball. I can sell you a different ball that you can get signed instead.
I've got a couple of footies laying around.
And Captain Blood, have you purchased anything, or are you still too hungover to even look at that yet?
Mate, I'm going to get a tiger tattoo on my face and a couple of neck tats. And look, probably I went the other way. I've kept my game day tickets, and I got a record to say I was there. I'm probably just going to grab a Night Premiership poster, and obviously when they release the DVD pack hopefully they'll release a DVD pack of the games, the final series. So I'd like to have them. So that's probably about it for me.
They usually do release those. I believe they call them a victory pack. They've released them ever since 2000, I think, where it's featured every finals game from the premiers.
They have.
That'll come out in November.
There's also
I've still got the 1996 year to remember on VHS.
There's also another DVD pack that they might do. They did this last year for the Bulldogs. It was a complete box set which had a DVD of every game for the home and away season, plus the finals, plus a highlights package as well for the whole season. It was about $120. So I've actually emailed the company who did it. to see if they're doing a Richmond version. So if I hear back from, I'll let you all know. But I thought that'd be a good one to get as well.
The club.
Yeah, I'll probably end up getting that book that was mentioned on.
The guy who had he was in the Inner Sanctum for like 2 years and documented everything, interviewed players and all that.
This whole, I can't remember what it was called, but I'll probably end up getting that as well. That gets printed next month, so I'll end up getting that as well.
And as Sturge said in the memorabilia thread, where possible, do try and buy the stuff through the club, so the club makes the money out of it to the third parties.
Yeah.
But obviously, some stuff might be nicer from a third party, and if that's the case, then so be it. But yeah, wherever possible, try and get all the stuff through the club.
They're whacking it up. The club. I was pointed in that today. I don't know if you've seen that. But saying the match, $44 from the club, 25 elsewhere.
Any of you blokes going to get premiership tattoos?
Yes. Lock it in. Of contact.
I actually ended up down the front behind Jake King on Saturday. I was 2 rows back as all the players ran over to celebrate. There was Kingy, Dan Connors, Nathan Foley, and Troy Chaplin as all the players ran over, and had a chat to Kingy afterwards, and he was very happy to do any Tiger premiership tattoos. And I believe on their Instagram that I posted in one of the threads, they're offering 20% off for Tiger members at City of Ink. So. Also, I think Ole Markov is an apprentice down at Kingy's shop now as well. So if you want that authentic Richmond experience...
There you go. Make sure if anyone who does get one, be sure to post it.
What are your thoughts on Brett Deledio? Yeah. Thoughts on Brett Deledio? Do we feel for him or not?
No, I don't.
Do we feel for Tyrone Vickery?
I think Vickery is a little bit different. Deledio was a shining light for us, but I think in the end he made the choice he wanted to lose. So.
I'll always respect what he did for the club, but I think him leaving actually is what helped turn us around, because there was obviously a lot of culture issues and the rumour that he was maybe a little bit a part of it. And he wanted out. The club was okay with that. We kind of both benefited in our own ways. But no, I don't feel sorry for him, but I'll always respect what he did for the club.
Yeah,
I feel sorry for him a little bit, but I hope it ends up like a Nathan Buckley Brisbane type scenario.
That's cruel.
No, it's not cruel. I'd rather see us win 3 than.
Yeah, correct. Correct.
All right, well, that just about does it, guys. So thank you so much for coming on and enjoying the grand final celebrations. We hope everyone out there enjoys the episode. Might be the last one for a little while, but who would have thought that we'd be sitting here talking about a grand final win? I think largely it has to do with creating the podcast, to be honest, because since we did that, we were on a roll, so we'll take full credit for this one.
Jackie Graham, Jacob Townsend, products of the Tigercast, and they were integral to getting us the flag. So it's all the Tigercast.
It is. So Steve-O needs to take note and learn a few lessons from us, and he might become a better journalist for it.
Hey, Gold Coast, hire the Tigercast as your head coach.
Hi.
Can I just say before we leave, I've just been sent a link by a friend of mine. For anyone that was down Swan Street on Saturday night, it was absolutely wild, and I posted a video of like a couple of hundred people singing "We Are the Champions" in the middle of Swan Street on our YouTube. But I've just been sent a link to a story. It says, it's been well reported how big the Tiger Army's after party on Swan Street was following the grand final. It turns out one of the best parties went down in the cool room of Liquorland, which is believed to have been forced the closure of the store. Tiger fan Matt told Triple M's Will and MJ, it was one of the best parties I've ever been to, and it was in a cool room, he said. Literally, there were guys in the cool room on top of slabs singing "We're from Liquorland," a Fighting Fury, "We're from Liquorland." That pretty much sums up Saturday night.
I was told by someone who was there that apparently people were just literally opening bottles of champagne in the store without even purchasing them, and the security guard was just high-fiving blokes on the way out.
There was people on roofs of shops, like perilously close to power lines. No idea how they even got up there. It's absolutely insane, and one of the best things I've ever seen.
There's a good Aussie man reviews on the Richmond grand final celebrations as well.
I've got to watch that. I love Aussie Man reviews.
There's also
we're in there.
If you guys don't know what it is, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, and definitely check out the new Hitler updated videos and the Spanish TV show, whatever that was. They're quite amusing as well.
We need Duke to do a grand final one of Laughing Spanish Man.
Yeah, we'll tag him in a thread. We'll get him to put that one together. So Sturge, Wacko Jacko, Rodney Dangerfield, Crocodoc, and Captain Blood, thank you so much again for coming on. And we'll finish up. Instead of the normal outro, we'll just leave you with some audio from the game as the siren went and the theme song. So hope you enjoy that. And until next time, go Tigers.
Go
Tigers.
Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Richmond BigFooty Tigercast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and YouTube so you can follow all the roast and toast, the reviews and previews, and all topics Richmond. Also keep an ear out for our special episodes of interviews with past players. Go Tigers.